Speed. It has a way of pulling at human curiosity, of asking what happens when machines outgrow the people who build them. Some machines are born to challenge limits. A few go so far that even the experts hesitate to ride them. There was one from the mid-1970s that did exactly that. A racing creation so fierce that champions questioned their own courage each time they swung a leg over it. It came from an era when technology was advancing faster than safety, when horsepower could outpace the logic of physics. This machine did not simply compete. It reshaped how riders and engineers thought about balance, control, and fear. Today we dive into the story of that legend, a two-stroke monster that left tire marks across history and nerves in its wake. Like and subscribe if you enjoy deep dives into iconic machines. And comment below which machine you want covered next. In 1975, the Yamaha TZ750 entered the racing world as something beyond ordinary engineering. It was a four-cylinder, two-stroke race bike built during a period when manufacturers were chasing sheer power without yet mastering how to control it. The TZ750 was Yamaha's answer to the call for domination on high-speed circuits. It produced around 120 horsepower in an era when that number seemed outrageous for a motorcycle that weighed less than most street bikes. That combination of lightweight and massive output created a new experience for racers, one that was both intoxicating and terrifying. The engine itself was derived from Yamaha's proven TZ700, but the jump to 750 cubic centimeters transformed the entire personality of the machine. Riders who had once managed the smaller bike found themselves holding on for survival rather than performance. The TZ750 demanded constant respect. The power band was sharp, and if the throttle was not treated with precision, the rear tire could spin, slide, or lift without warning. Yet, despite its unpredictable behavior, every racer who lined up against it understood that the TZ750 represented the future of racing. The challenge lay in whether human reflexes could adapt to what Yamaha had unleashed. To grasp the origins of such an extreme creation, we need to look at the environment that produced it. Motorcycle Grand Prix and American flat track racing were evolving rapidly in the early 1970s. Manufacturers were competing for technological superiority, and the focus was on more speed rather than balanced design. Yamaha's engineers had access to lightweight materials and the developing science of high-performance two-stroke engines, which made massive power possible. But there was a gap between mechanical capability and rider control. The chassis technology of the time had not caught up with engine output, meaning these motorcycles were often bending under their own power. The TZ750's steel tube frame flexed under load, especially in corners, creating a sensation of delay between steering input and response. Racers described moments when the rear end seemed to act on its own, independent of the rider's intent. The front fork geometry and suspension settings were constantly adjusted in search of balance, but there was only so much that could be done within the physics of the era. The tires available at the time were not designed to manage that level of torque and speed. Racers had to rely on skill and instinct more than any form of predictable traction. Each lap became an act of calculation. How much throttle to use, where to shift, and when to trust the machine. Some would say that the TZ750 rewarded bravery as much as talent. The danger was not only in its straight-line acceleration, but in its tendency to push beyond control mid-corner. High-speed circuits like Daytona or Imola exposed its extremes. The bike would hit speeds approaching 180 miles per hour while still relying on components designed for slower machines. The braking systems were mechanical discs that faded quickly under load. The fairing, while aerodynamic, offered minimal stability at maximum velocity. The rider became the final piece of the puzzle, physically wrestling the front end to stay in control. Yamaha's objective was simple: build a bike that could win, no matter the challenge. That mindset defined racing culture at the time. Engineers viewed limits as temporary obstacles, and the TZ750 embodied that spirit completely. Every race it entered became an experiment in what was possible, even if it bordered on the impossible. For Yamaha, success with the TZ750 would prove the brand's dominance in both technology and competitive edge. The machine quickly began to rack up victories, and as it did, its reputation grew. Yet behind each win was a trail of exhausted riders who finished races more relieved than triumphant. The power that made it unbeatable was also what made it infamous. Even the most skilled racers of the time described it as physically demanding to the point of exhaustion. Long races were tests of endurance as much as speed. The two-stroke engine produced brutal vibrations and an exhaust note that could overwhelm the senses. Pit crews had to rebuild engines frequently. The machine ran so hot and hard that mechanical failures were constant threats. But Yamaha's persistence paid off. The TZ750 dominated the Formula 750 class and became the benchmark for power-to-weight performance in its generation. Its victories cemented Yamaha's reputation as an innovator, but the machine also began to raise uncomfortable questions about rider safety and the limits of competition. Each race brought whispers about how far technology could go before the human factor gave way. In racing circles, the TZ750 symbolized both progress and peril. The cost of pushing forward was clear in the strain it placed on those who rode it. As development continued, Yamaha worked to refine handling and reliability. Variants of the TZ750 evolved with lighter components, revised frames, and improved cooling systems. But no amount of refinement could hide the core truth. This was still a motorcycle that required courage above all else. Its presence on the starting grid commanded attention. It looked fast even when standing still. For many, it was the ultimate test of whether a rider could truly master their machine. The legacy of the 1975 Yamaha TZ750 began not just with its mechanical power, but with the raw emotion it triggered. Engineers, riders, and spectators all recognized they were witnessing something beyond the ordinary boundaries of motorsport. This was not just a new model. It was a warning and a promise combined. It promised victory to those who dared and warned of the consequences for anyone who underestimated it. The TZ750 did not simply enter history as another racing motorcycle. It entered as a statement of intent, a demonstration of what happens when innovation meets obsession. Its name became synonymous with the moment racing outgrew its own safety margins, setting the stage for the debates and developments that would shape the next decade of competition. The Yamaha TZ750 of 1975 quickly revealed the price of progress. While its victories stacked up, so did the stories of riders who found themselves wrestling with a machine that felt almost alive, unpredictable, and often on the edge of control. The engine, a masterpiece of two-stroke aggression, delivered power in a sudden surge that left little margin for hesitation. Riders could not roll on the throttle gently. They had to time every input perfectly, anticipating the moment the engine would leap from docile to ferocious. The clutch, the gearing, even the way air flowed through the carburetors demanded precision bordering on instinct. Those who mastered it became legends. Those who did not often ended races early, exhausted or outpaced. This was the paradox of the TZ750. It was too fast for its own frame, too fierce for its tires, and too iconic to ignore. Yamaha's engineering team understood what they had created, a technical marvel that challenged the definition of rideability. They began experimenting with subtle refinements to tame the monster without dulling its advantage. Every tweak mattered. Small changes in carburation, exhaust design, and ignition timing could slightly smooth the abrupt power curve, making the motorcycle marginally more manageable. But the essence of the machine, the wild, high-revving character, remained. Each rider who took the handlebars knew they were not simply piloting a bike, they were negotiating with it. At speed, the TZ750 demanded total commitment. There was no halfway effort, no partial focus. The bike required strength to hold the line, and mental precision to keep pace with its responses. On long circuits, fatigue set in fast. Racers described their arms locking under braking, their legs bracing just to stay seated as the suspension compressed under full power. And yet, even through exhaustion, there was a sense of awe. The sound of the four-cylinder two-stroke at peak RPM was unforgettable, an industrial symphony that signaled speed unlike anything else on the track. The Yamaha TZ750 soon became a measuring stick for bravery. Winning on one meant more than just finishing first. It meant you had stared down the machine and stayed in control. The racing world began to take note of the contrast between technical success and human limitation. While Yamaha celebrated championships, the governing bodies and rival teams began discussions about regulation and safety. How much faster could motorcycles get before the sport itself had to evolve? Tires were improving, but not fast enough to handle the demands of this new generation of power. Brakes lagged behind as well. They overheated, lost bite, and left riders praying for runoff areas. The TZ750 had, in effect, jumped ahead of its ecosystem. The gap between engine output and available technology was widening, and the consequences were becoming visible. Races grew more unpredictable, not because of competition between riders, but because of the unpredictable nature of the machines. Yamaha's engineers, far from discouraged, saw this as part of racing's evolution. Their philosophy was that the sport should push boundaries to force progress in all areas: materials, suspension design, tire technology, and aerodynamics. The TZ750 became a living experiment in that philosophy. The bike's frame, originally a conventional steel tube design, began to show its limitations at high speed. The flexing that once added a degree of forgiveness now created instability. The company explored reinforcement methods and weight distribution adjustments. Eventually, later versions would feature improved rigidity, helping to keep the bike stable during the high G loads of cornering and acceleration. Yet even with those updates, the TZ750 was never truly domesticated. It remained a machine that demanded complete respect and punished overconfidence. It was also changing the culture of motorcycle racing. Teams began to prioritize engineering collaboration, bringing riders into the development process more directly than before. Feedback from professionals became essential, as small setup adjustments could make the difference between finishing a race or ending it prematurely. Yamaha's close work with its riders defined a new approach, one that would shape the next era of development. The TZ750 was not only teaching lessons in physics but in teamwork. Spectators, meanwhile, loved it. Its sheer presence at the track was thrilling. The sound alone drew crowds. People came not just to watch who would win, but to see who would manage to control the beast. In many ways, it was pure entertainment, the most raw expression of man versus machine. Yet beneath that excitement was a deeper shift. The motorcycle was forcing the industry to ask, should progress always mean more power, or should progress mean balance? For Yamaha, the TZ750 was both an achievement and a challenge. They had proven they could build the most powerful race bike of its era. Now they had to consider what responsibility came with that title. Some engineers began exploring how to maintain performance while improving stability and rider safety. That thinking would guide future designs in Grand Prix racing and beyond. The TZ750 had revealed the upper limits of what could be done with steel frames and air-cooled engines. It marked the end of one technological chapter and the beginning of another that would bring liquid cooling, aluminum frames, and refined aerodynamics into mainstream racing. Each time the TZ750 took to the track, it seemed to announce the arrival of a new age. It was clear that this motorcycle was never meant to last as a practical racer. It was meant to break boundaries and clear the path for what came next. The Yamaha TZ750 of 1975 proved that the line between genius and excess is often razor-thin, and it was that tension, between control and chaos, that gave it immortality. The machine taught everyone involved, from engineers to riders to fans, that innovation comes with a cost. But it also showed what happens when that cost is paid willingly in the pursuit of perfection. Long after the races were over, its echo would continue to shape the evolution of racing machines across disciplines, ensuring that the lessons learned from its raw power would never be forgotten. By the time the Yamaha TZ750 reached its peak in the late 1970s, its reputation was solidified as both a triumph of engineering and a cautionary symbol of excess. The 1975 version had set the tone: raw, unfiltered, and dangerously fast. Every rider who approached it knew they were facing one of the most demanding machines ever built. Its acceleration was relentless, a wall of torque that arrived without warning, and its handling required constant physical correction. Over time, refinements improved balance, but the core identity remained untamed. That duality became its legacy. It was both a masterpiece and a problem that racing could no longer ignore. The Yamaha TZ750 changed how people thought about motorcycle development. Before it, the measure of success was simple speed. After it, the conversation expanded to include control, safety, and the symbiosis between human and machine. Engineers learned that performance alone was not enough. The TZ750 had shown the cracks in that philosophy. The frame flex, the limited brakes, the unpredictable throttle response, all of it pointed toward a sport evolving faster than its infrastructure. Racing organizers began reconsidering regulations. Classes were adjusted, horsepower limits were discussed, and the idea of balance began to take hold. Riders, too, started to value stability and feedback over sheer speed. Yamaha's engineers responded with a mindset that would define modern racing: a focus on harmonizing power with precision. The TZ750 had forced that transformation. It had exposed the gap between ambition and execution, and in doing so, accelerated the move towards smarter engineering. Its successors would carry the lessons forward, but none would replicate its fearsome personality. Even decades later, when technology had caught up, veterans spoke of the 1975 TZ750 with a kind of reverence usually reserved for myth. It represented the moment when racing faced its own limits and decided to evolve rather than retreat. That evolution reached far beyond the racetrack. The influence of the TZ750 seeped into production motorcycle design, shaping the philosophy behind high-performance bikes built for the street. Lightweight materials, more efficient cooling, and improved chassis stiffness became priorities. Manufacturers recognized that balance was not weakness. It was the key to unlocking true speed. Every modern superbike owes some part of its DNA to the lessons Yamaha learned from the TZ750's extremes. The impact extended to the culture of racing itself. Fans remembered the spectacle of that machine as something unmatched. It captured the imagination not just because it won, but because it tested the courage of those who dared to ride it. In an age when many machines were becoming more refined, the TZ750 remained unapologetically wild. It was the last of a generation built purely around the idea of maximum output, before computers and data analysis began to dictate development. It was the purest expression of mechanical ambition. And that purity gave it a mythic quality that has endured for nearly half a century. The legacy of the 1975 Yamaha TZ750 can still be seen every time a manufacturer balances aggression with control. Modern racing machines achieve levels of speed the TZ750 could only dream of, yet they do so with a stability that would have seemed like science fiction in 1975. That evolution is the TZ750's greatest gift. It taught the industry that raw power was only half the equation, and that the true art of speed lies in making it manageable. Yamaha's engineers, in chasing victory, had inadvertently redefined the rules of progress. For riders, the TZ750 remains a symbol of ultimate challenge. It was the kind of machine that demanded complete trust in oneself, that punished hesitation and rewarded commitment. Few bikes in history have embodied that relationship between man and machine so vividly. To this day, when enthusiasts hear its name, they think of courage, precision, and the thin line between mastery and mayhem. It represents the spirit of an era when racing was still about pushing personal and mechanical boundaries without the safety nets of modern technology. That rawness is what gives it timeless appeal. The Yamaha TZ750 was not just a motorcycle. It was an experience. It reshaped what racing meant, forcing everyone involved to question their own limits. Engineers had to rethink design philosophy, riders had to develop new skills, and fans witnessed the transformation of motorsport in real time. Its legacy is written not just in trophies or lap records, but in the entire mindset of performance engineering that followed. The 1975 TZ750 showed that progress is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. It remains a reminder that true innovation often begins where control ends. Every generation of motorcycles since has been chasing that perfect balance first revealed by the beast that terrified legends yet moved the sport forward. The Yamaha TZ750 did more than race. It redefined the relationship between risk and reward, creating a story that still resonates wherever people chase speed. The 1975 Yamaha TZ750 remains one of the most important machines in motorcycle history. It was more than a race bike. It was a turning point. Its combination of enormous power and minimal restraint forced the sport to evolve, showing that progress without control leads to limits no one can ignore. Yamaha's creation was both a marvel and a message. The TZ750 demonstrated that engineering brilliance can sometimes outpace human adaptation, and that innovation must eventually find balance with safety and endurance. What began as a quest for dominance on the track became an enduring lesson in design philosophy. Every frame, every piston, every tire that followed carried the echo of what Yamaha learned from this remarkable motorcycle. The TZ750 was proof that ambition drives progress, but also that restraint defines mastery. Its thunderous presence in 1975 did not just win races. It reshaped how racing was conducted and how motorcycles would be built for decades afterward. The influence spread beyond circuits, inspiring generations of engineers to prioritize harmony between speed and stability. In the years since, its myth has only grown. Restored TZ750s still appear at demonstrations, their piercing exhaust notes reminding fans of a time when riders faced unfiltered power with nothing but courage and precision. It stands today as a monument to an age of fearless experimentation. The Yamaha TZ750 is the perfect example of why machines matter, not only for what they achieve, but for how they change the people and the industries around them. Its story endures because it captures the essence of motorsport, the pursuit of perfection through challenge. Every rider who faced it, every engineer who tried to tame it, and every fan who watched it understood they were witnessing history in motion. The machine terrified legends and inspired generations, leaving behind a legacy that still humbles even the most advanced motorcycles of today. It will forever symbolize the moment when speed met courage, and both had to evolve.